Hello, this defense of carbon dioxide, CO2, is entitled CO2 is Good and contains an important message for my grandchildren, Adam, Sammy, Eleanor, and Luco. I love them very much, and I want the very best for them. It is a message that all grandparents should want to share with their loved ones. My first wish is that they are free to pursue happiness in a civil society. The individual in a civil society strives to be restrained, ethical, and honorable. He rejects the ideology that blurs the lines between good and bad, right and wrong, and just and unjust. My second wish is that they will be successful in dealing with life's challenges by applying deliberate critical thinking. Such a skill will also enable them to resist the tyranny of big governments with their relentless campaigns to control the masses through misinformation and the fear of imaginary hobgoblins. A person must be especially suspicious when told that there is a scientific consensus and that the science is settled. Consensus science is not science, and science is never settled. It usually means that the science has been hijacked in support of a political agenda. Now, I will talk to you about my 15-year passion, climate change. Yes, the climate is always changing. It has been doing so as long as there's been an Earth rotating around the sun. It is not a simple sine or cosine function. Nothing is simple when it comes to the climate. Be suspicious when somebody shows a simple straight line for temperature and other climate variables. The four major cycles of warm and cold periods are decadal, millennial, glacial, interglacial, and the ice ages. The ice age cycles are depicted in this diagram. The ice ages have subjected the Earth to major cycles of warming and cooling. We are currently in the Holarctic Antarctic Ice Age, which is also known as the Cenozoic Ice Age. We are also in the Green Period, which started over 2 billion years ago. This graph depicts the millennial climate cycles. The warm periods are times of prosperity, such as that experienced during the Roman Empire. The cold periods are times of famine, mass migrations, and disorder. The fall of the Roman Empire may have been caused by too many people at the public trough, but mass migrations from the north also contributed to its demise. The northern tribes, such as the Visigoths, the Ostrogoths, the Vandals, the Franks, and the Burgundians, looked to the south because of crop failures related to a decreasing growing season. We are currently entering a cold period, and the availability of cheap energy from fossil fuels is critical for the implementation of an adaptation strategy. Clearly, the climate always changes without any help from mankind. If human activities could control the climate and warm up the imminent cold period, that would be a great benefit to life on Earth. The factors that affect climate change are more complicated than a trace gas called carbon dioxide, or CO2. CO2 is 0.04% of the atmosphere. The idea that this molecule can control the climate is preposterous. It is a childish, delusional superstition. CO2 levels follow temperature changes. CO2 does not cause temperature changes. Carbon dioxide is essential for life. It is currently around 416 parts per million, that's 0.04%. But if it drops to 150 parts per million, plant life on Earth is threatened with extinction. Fortunately, CO2 is currently increasing, primarily because of natural ocean outgassing, but it is still below optimal levels. CO2 is essential for food production through the process of photosynthesis. Furthermore, the presence of CO2, not the lack of oxygen, stimulates humans to breathe. The climate alarmists do not simply say that we must do something about climate change. They say we must do something or we are going to die. This gives children frightening nightmares. There is no climate emergency. There is no need to ship money through the Paris Accord to countries envious of our lifestyle. There is no need for bigger government, nor for more taxation. Expensive energy drives manufacturing and the middle class from Canada. There will be an elite and the poor, with no middle class. Friends of the government will, of course, belong to the elite. Fossil fuels also are not the enemy. They are the key to cheap energy and a prosperous middle class. There are only 1,000 years left of fossil fuels at our current consumption rate. But we have enough time to come up with alternate solutions without hitting the panic button. The environmental disasters of wind and solar power are not the solution. Nuclear power is the most likely solution, but people need to get over the fear of it. It is completely different technology than the bomb. Energy solutions may entail the current fission reactors like the heavy water moderated CANDU reactor, the thorium reactor, or perhaps even fusion reactors. The solution is probably lies in the smart mind of someone yet to be born. If that smart mind is born into poverty because expensive energy has eliminated the middle class, that mind may be more preoccupied with getting the next meal. If teachers promote the idea that CO2 is a pollutant, who knows the consequences of their mistruths? These teachers cannot create good scientists to win jobs in a competitive world market. Also, there is no such thing as a material greenhouse effect. A greenhouse is impossible without a glass ceiling. Can the Earth overheat? No. The oceans are an enormous radiator, which is a frigid 40 degrees Fahrenheit at depth all around the world. In addition, outer space is an infinite heat sink for radiated and reflected energy. Nevertheless, the hotter Earth results in a longer growing season and less famine. More CO2 is very desirable. Greenhouse operators use carbon dioxide generators because high levels of CO2 promote plant growth, as seen in this figure of Sherwood Inso and his pine trees. Furthermore, hurricanes, wildfires, sea level rise, and other natural disasters are not caused by CO2. With wildfires, politicians can save face by blaming climate change, not their incompetence in forest management. The Antarctic ice is growing, and the Arctic sea ice, which is less than 1% of the world's ice, is well within natural variability. Even if floating Arctic ice melts, sea level does not change. Former President Obama did not seem too worried when he purchased his estate on Martha's Vineyard, seen here. Floods and hurricanes only seem worse because people are placing more assets in the path of these natural disasters. Statistics are often manipulated to meet climate change narrative, but CO2 is not the culprit. Governments waste money and succumb to corruption, but any money spent fighting climate change is squandered. Moreover, it is money which could be used to solve real environmental problems and to develop viable energy sources. If this talk has whetted your appetite for more, you can find my book on Kindle. It is called The Misadventures with Carbon. The power of climate groupthink is destroying a civilization a small step at a time. It's by Thorpe Watson and his son Warren Watson. My website is at the following address. God bless and thank you.